it. What do these people want?
I think ultimately many people who are involved in radical Islam want different things, but ultimately why most people join is for the creation of what they see as the benefit of Islam and the creation of an Islamic government that will eventually one day rule all over the world.
So, is there any connection with British foreign policy? If Gordon Brown were to come out tomorrow and say, we got the Iraq war wrong, we're pulling the troops out, what difference would that make?
I think to people who are on the fringes of radicalism, it would probably appease them a little bit, but ultimately I don't think it would solve the problem that most of the radical Muslims are facing. Most Muslims aren't inspired by British foreign policy. No doubt about it that British foreign policy is an aggravating factor. However, what it really boils down to is that Muslims have a basis within Islam to carry out attacks, and that's ultimately the reason for why people actually carry out these attacks.
And I mean, is this people who actually dislike the British way of life?
I think it's not just the British way of life, it's any way of life that isn't Islamic, and most Muslims would, would probably disagree in public, but in private would actually agree with these sentiments that they have, that the Western way of life or non-Islamic way of life is a degenerate way of life, and hence, it is, it's eligible for it to be attacked.
Bring in Hassan again, because I mean, what would stop someone who clearly believes in God and believes that in some way God wants them to do these acts? What would stop that?
I think for a long time the Muslim community has been silent to the issue of what basically makes a young British Muslim from having grievances, for example, on the issues of Iraq, to actually going then building a bomb, putting it into a rucksack and willing to blow up the underground, which was the case in 7/7. They've actually not addressed the issues, which is, like you've said, that these people don't do it out of some grievance. What they do it for is they actually believe they're doing it because they are pleasing Allah, and they believe ultimately they will gain paradise from doing it.
Was that an issue for Muslim scholarship then? I mean, because it's all very well for those of us who are not Muslims to lecture about this, but who would listen?
Yeah,
it has to be Muslims.
Absolutely. For years, the mosques, the Muslim communities, the Muslim organizations haven't addressed the issues of jihad, haven't addressed the issues of killing, and what they've done is they've allowed people to go and read the Quran, they've gone and study Islam, and what they see, for example, is the chapters on killing, the verses on killing, which are part and parcel of Islam, and they don't know how to apply that into 21st century.
Because they're not put in context for them by educated people.
Absolutely.
Do you see anybody taking up this voice? I mean, we have had Muslim scholars on this programme saying, as you have said, this is completely unacceptable, whatever your grievances with the British government. But do you see people within the British Muslim community saying it?
On a wholesale level, no, absolutely not. I mean, people are saying, yes, it's wrong, but I mean, the question that needs to be addressed is, how is this being portrayed, for example, to the people on the ground, like the Muhammad Sadiq Khans, who went out there and actually blew up things? How is that vision of Islam being portrayed to them? And ultimately, it isn't being given to them, because what tends to happen is the mosque committees speak to a certain mosque people. The committees that are designed, the organizations that are designed only tend to target their type of people, and hence it doesn't get around to the other people who need to be addressed.
Who are on the fringes.
Who are on the well. Even I don't like to call it a fringe, because I don't believe it's a fringe. I believe it's a lot bigger. It has a lot more support than is actually made out to be. And what Muslims need to realize is they need to address this issue. They need to listen to this voice, and they need to debate these voices, because these voices do have a stance in Islam. People like Abu Qatada are learned people. They have a view in Islam, and what we need to do is tackle his issues. We need to take apart his arguments, take apart his defense of Islam, and then we can be able to say that, yes, this is what jihad really is about, and this is what killing should really be about. Thank you.